English is full of confusing words like these first two words that I have for you, between and among. They're both prepositions, but you're going to use between when you're talking about, well, two things or two people. There's a one-on-one relationship. Use among when you're talking about, well, more than two, and it's not really distinct. So I could say, the information in this lesson, let's keep that between you and me. I'm talking about a one-on-one relationship between you and me. Or there's an idiom that is between a rock and a hard place. This is talking about a difficult situation. A rock, a hard place, you're between it. It's not a good place to be. It's a difficult situation. Now with among, I know I told you to keep this information between you and me, but I'd rather you share it among all of your friends. So in that case, I'm talking about that group. And you may also hear people use amongst instead of among, and they mean the same thing. I think it's more common to use among, especially in the United States. Amongst, it's a little bit of an older word, but there are still some phrases, statements in which people are likely to use amongst. If you are in front of a group of people and maybe you're talking to them and you have to leave the room, you could say, talk amongst yourselves. That is a statement that you may hear in which people may use amongst. Now, between you and me, if you truly want to build your vocabulary, learn the difference between these confusing words, I suggest you subscribe, turn on notifications so that you learn about future lessons and I can become your English teacher. My name is Wes. The channel, Interactive English, that's what it's all about, trying to help you improve and reach your fluency goals. The next two confusing words that I have for you, reluctant and reticent. They're both adjectives, but you're going to use reluctant to refer to something that maybe you are hesitant to do or you're unwilling to do this thing. Use reticent when you're really talking about somebody's manner, that they're shy or reserved. So in that case, I think it's more common that you're going to hear people use reluctant when talking about things they're unwilling to do in general. Reticent, it's going to allow you to be more specific. So maybe if we're talking about somebody shy to speak and they don't want to speak, they're reluctant to speak, then you could describe them as being a bit reticent because we know that they're a little shy. If I were talking about maybe a team that had to do a presentation and I could say, well, she was reluctant to put together the presentation. She was unwilling to do it. Maybe it was very difficult, but then he was reticent to give the presentation. So in that case, I'm talking about, well, his willingness to speak. He was reticent, he was shy, he didn't really want to do it. Before we continue, I want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's lesson, which is italki. And when you use italki, you will always find a teacher that is right for you. There are qualified teachers from all over the world sharing their languages, their cultures, their dialects, and there are a lot of benefits to using italki. I personally think that the greatest benefit is that these are one-on-one lessons, which means that if you want to improve your pronunciation, maybe you want to develop your writing skills or build your vocabulary, well then you can do all of that because you are in control of your learning. You also get to learn at your own pace, you get professional feedback, and you can practice for free with the italki community. There is no subscription, there's no commitment, you just pay per lesson. And right now, when you click on the link below and sign up, you have the chance to win free italki lessons twice a week for 3 months. To learn more details, don't hesitate to click on the link down in the description, grab your chance to win some free lessons, find an English teacher that's right for you, and then you can take your English skills to the next level. Let's get back to our lesson of confusing English words, and here are another couple of confusing words, achieve and accomplish, and these are great words to know. So you're going to use achieve when talking about, well, you want to succeed in something. If you use accomplish, then that means, well, you've finished something, often successfully. So if I were to say, like, I want to achieve my goal, it means that I want to reach this point and I want to do it successfully. That's a little different than if I say I accomplish my goal. Well, then it's finished and, well, perhaps I was successful. Think of it this way. I always talk about trying to achieve English fluency, that you want to be successful in learning English. And it's not something that you're probably ever going to finish. So in that case, I'm not going to use accomplish. But if I'm talking about like a mission or a task, well, then I could say that I want to accomplish this mission, or maybe I already accomplished this mission. It's done, it's complete, and I did what I needed to do. Then we have customers and clients. So customers refer to people who are buying a product or service, and clients refer to people who need some type of professional support or help from another person or a company. So I am going to tell you, I'm going to give you a situation, talking about some people, and I want you to think whether I'm talking about customers or clients. I'll give you a moment, and then I'll tell you the answer. So if I am talking about, well, shopping at the mall, those are customers. If I need to hire a lawyer and I need to use their services, then I am the client. If a company uses services from another company, then they would be, this is a little tricky because they could be either clients or customers. So in some instances, they may be used interchangeably. It really just depends on the relationship, maybe between these companies, but that's another reason why they can be a bit confusing. And finally, if I were to talk about, well, people at a restaurant, those are customers. Yes, those are customers. Here are another couple of confusing words, figuratively and literally. They're adverbs. We use figuratively to refer to, well, using words or phrases in an imaginative way, talking about something that is not realistic. You would use literally to talk about something that, well, is realistic, something that happened. So there's a phrase that people might use with figuratively, and they may say, figuratively speaking, at the beginning of their statement, and then go on to say something that is not realistic. Figuratively speaking, people were kicking down the doors to buy the new iPhone. So it's not realistic, it's just an example, and people would do this really kind of to emphasize their statement. If I want to use literally, and this does happen, maybe you're talking with a friend about another friend, and that person shows up and you say, hey, we were literally just talking about you. So this was realistic. It happened. The reason why these words may be confusing is because people use literally instead of figuratively. And I know that may seem a little strange because their meaning it's pretty much the opposite. And there are people who say this is incorrect, this should not happen, but you should be aware that this is something that occurs in spoken English. Somebody might say something like, I literally have not slept in weeks. Of course, that's not true. It's not realistic, but they may use literally just to try and emphasize the fact that they have not been sleeping at all. Or I could say people have literally been kicking down the doors to buy the new iPhone. So once again, I'm talking about something that's not realistic, but I'm using literally instead of figuratively. This is something that happens quite often in spoken English, and I'm even guilty of doing this from time to time. Then we have these confusing abbreviations, e.g. versus i.e. And it's something that people will often confuse in writing. They may even confuse it in spoken English if people say these abbreviations, but you're going to use e.g. in order to mean for example. You're going to use i.e. It's like saying that is to say, or it's even interchangeable with specifically. So let me try to make it a little easier for you to understand. If I were to say something like, I've been trying to eat more foods that are high in protein, e.g. tuna, broccoli, chicken. I'm really just giving an example of some of the things that I'm eating. If I were to say, well, the hotels downtown, they raise their price during the high season, i.e. May to August. Now I'm specifically talking about that time period, May to August. Let me give you a couple of statements, and you tell me if we should use e.g. or i.e. If I were to say, the restaurant is closed once a week, on Mondays. All right, in that case, you should use IE because we're talking specifically about Mondays. How about there are many chores that I have to do during the week? Take out the trash, mop the floor, clean the living room. Okay, you should have said EG because once again, I'm giving just examples of some of the chores that I have to do. So just really keep that in mind. EG is used to just give some examples. IE is much more specific. You are talking about something that is specifically happening or some specific information. And then we have these two confusing words, consecutive and concurrent. And I think they may be confused mostly because of, well, the spelling, and they kind of sound like they might be the same word, but they have different meanings. You're going to use consecutive to talk about, well, something that happens one after the other without interruption. And you use concurrent to talk about, well, things that are happening at the same time. So I could say that the city experienced consecutive heat waves. There was a heat wave, and once it ended, without interruption, another one started. Or if I were to use concurrent, I could say, well, the country is experiencing concurrent heat waves. That there are different heat waves happening across the country at the same time. It's concurrent. So just remember, there are two different meanings: consecutive, one after the other, without interruption. Concurrent, it means happening at the same time. I hope that these words are now a little less confusing for you. I hope you learned something new. If you did, please hit that like button. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. So long.